All right, good afternoon, everybody. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up, excuse me, on the final exam for today. I think there's 20 questions. There isn't a time limit, and we don't proctor this class, so you're okay to use a couple of notes. That's fine. I would recommend that you run through a couple of your homework problems, and I'll go over which ones are good to look at so that you're not there forever trying to take that final, and you should study a little bit, so like practice these. And, have your calculator. That's fine. You have, you're not cheating. You have a calculator. It's okay. And I would either print out or make a little sheet for your unit conversions and, have those available. Like I said before, if you were in a face-to-face class, I would absolutely print those out and tape them to your final exam so that you would have those things. Nobody's expecting you to memorize how to convert, or what the conversion factor is from pounds to kilograms or kilograms to pounds. Okay, if you run, you'll know that a 5K is about 3 point something miles, a 10K is about 6 point something miles, so you can estimate a little bit. But for the rest of the people who don't share that sport, we're not going to know, and that's okay. So if you're looking at those tables, you're not cheating. That's fine. I would try to ask you to keep the number of examples you've got access to a minimum, but I understand if you gotta. I would keep it. I would try to keep it to one or two. We have a 20 question final, so maybe 3 or 4. But if you have more than that, you're going to spend more time looking stuff up than you're going to be taking your final. So I'm going to go ahead and share screen so I can write stuff down for you, and just kind of go over quick with with review. And I'm going to start adding some problems here, but it's going to take me a little bit to do that. So this afternoon, I'll add something. All right, so let's just have a look. All right, and share. All right. So final exam review, just to kind of write this stuff down for you. I guess I could have written this all down in actual, typing it, but I don't know. Math is one of those things where if it's too automated, you kind of lose track and say, can a human actually do this, or is it all with computers? So the first one is ratios. So chapter 4 is, I think, the hardest chapter we actually cover. So if you were having trouble with 4.2, with ratios and percents, that's, I think that's pretty normal. So, those ratio problems, right, where you have direct variation, right? You might have a time one and a payment one versus a time 2 and a payment 2, right? And something like that. So, you spend 30 hours and you get paid a certain amount of money at the end of the week. You pay 40 hours, you get paid a certain amount of money at the end of the week, and to set it up and to solve something like that. Okay. 2 is the indirect, or the inversely proportional. I think these are a little bit harder to get. By the way, there are no, that first problem that they hand you with, those triangles, and there's a ton of problems. I don't believe the final has any of those kinds of problems where they're asking you much more than one thing, maybe 2 things per question, which is good, because putting that kind of a question on a final, that's a little criminal. But the Pulley problems, remember, the inverse proportional, that's pressure and volume, and they'll tell you for pressure and volume. But the Pulley one, they don't tell you, right? You got grinding wheels and an RPM kind of a thing. They don't say a thing about that. So you have to do diameter 1 equals, right? And then you're looking at the RPMs. We'll say the velocity 1. And then diameter 2 is equal to velocity 2. So they're on opposite sides of the fraction, and that's how you solve these things, okay? After that, it's just cross multiply, and then you're set. But I would definitely practice one of these. I'm going to put up another Pulley problem a little bit later today, but I would highly recommend looking at some inverse proportion problems. Okay. Then we do percents. Okay. So 23 is what percent of 82? Things like that. Okay. This is 4.2 problems, right? Or 4.4, I think. 4.4 problems, but percentages. So make sure you look at a couple of percentages. They don't ask entirely tricky ones, but they also ask for efficiency, and I think they also ask for a sale. Like, what was the sale price after you get like 20% off? What was the original price, kind of a thing. So we'll do a couple of those a little bit later too, but percents, and then a couple of the word problems with percents. All right, so if you're stuck on these still percents, work a couple of problems. That's how you're going to study. Okay. Um, let's see. We have let's see. We have what is? I can't remember. I'm writing what's going on here. Unit conversions. That's the next thing. And again, they don't go through here and ask you for like really weird ones. They're asking you for like square feet to acres, cups to teaspoons, kind of a thing, feet to meters. All right, so these are pretty standard conversions. I think the hardest one that you would have to do is like, what's 60 miles per hour in how many meters per second? Okay, so that's like the hardest thing that they would ever have you do. Most of them are one step or two step. Oh, there is a temperature. Okay, there is a temperature conversion. We have to go to Fahrenheit to Celsius, or from Celsius to Fahrenheit. They randomize them, so I don't know which way this is going to go. But right, it's Fahrenheit is equal to 9/5 C plus 32. Don't estimate it. They don't want you to estimate. They want you to do the calculation. Okay, and then I guess it's 5/9 F minus 32 is equal to C. All right. I'm sure that your book has these formulas, at least this one, sitting there. I think this is the way they have you do it, so this is the one to know. But again, having this formula sitting next to your desk, you're not cheating. I would have happily provided this on a face-to-face class. All right. 4 is, what are we doing here else? We have a temperature conversion. I said, yeah, that was a pain. We have some algebra skills. They even ask you like to know, like, how big is a human foot in metric and approximate it. I wish they didn't ask that question, but they did. So some of them, right? Some of them they do want you to estimate, but it's multiple choice. They ask you like, which is the best estimate. All right. Algebra skills, they go, and again, these are the same kind of algebra problems that you saw in chapter 7. We're not trying to spring anything on you that was not your homework. So everything that was there. And again, the goal is you have to assemble all the stuff with the variable on one side, right? All your x's go on one side in equal numbers. And then you're going to divide by whatever happens to be in front of the x, and that's how you're going to get your answer. And again, we'll do a couple of these just to kind of see it. All right. For solving for formulas. All right. So you might have energy is equal to 1/2 mv squared, and they'll say solve for v squared. Okay. So we have to multiply both sides by 2, so we're going to get 2e is equal to mv squared. Divide both sides by m, and they're going to have v squared is equal to 2 energies over masses. All right, and that's kind of thing they want you to do. We're not talking about nonlinear stuff. They don't want you to take a square root. They just want you to solve for v squared. Okay, all the ones that I saw were the kind of stuff that I saw in my electronics class, where we have v is equal to IR, and they say solve for R, right? So we divide both sides by I, divide both sides by I, and we get R is equal to V over I. And that's what they want you to type in, right? Or actually, no, that's what they want you to type in here. All right. So be careful about those. I think all of the variables, all the letters need one variable. They're not trying to be fancy with computer programming or anything where you can have like voltage is equal to, current times resistance, where all of these would be multiple, right? This would be like one thing. They're not doing that to you, okay? They're going to hand you V equals IR and say solve for R, okay? That's formulas. And then everybody's favorite, we do some scientific notation. Okay, remember, they want the X on the palette. They don't want the X as the letter. So if you get it wrong, it's the first thing that I'm going to suspect that you did is you used X rather than the multiplying. Again, this is not. If this is what you did, the computer will mark it wrong, but I wouldn't. So when I go in to look, I'm just going to change that and say what they used the wrong X. That's why they penalize. Like no, we're just going to fix that. Okay, same thing with significant figures on all of these. That's not the biggest mistake in the world. If that's what you're messing up, I'm going to give you some credit back for that. So I don't want you to panic about scientific notation or significant figures. But just remember that, something like, say, if we had 2,000, there's a decimal place. We're going to move the decimal place over here. It's 2 times 10 to the 3. Okay. We have to move the decimal place 1, 2, 3 to the right to undo this thing. All right. If I have 0.064, then we move the decimal place again 2 places, 6.4 times 10 to the, and I have to move it to the left to get it to undo this. Right. If I have to go here, it's going to go 1, 2. Okay. So that's kind of how to keep that straight. Is like where am I moving this to undo the scientific notation? All right. So they have you do a couple of scientific notation problems. They're not terrible. Well, I shouldn't say that. I have a little bit more practice. But there's some tricky ones, and they didn't hand you the truly terribly tricky ones. Okay. Just be careful. Make sure that your original digit, right, is between 1 and 10. All right. 1 and 10. The other thing about the final exam is they have picked some problems there that some of them are as easy as they seem. And I hate asking questions like that on a final because for somebody who doesn't have the confidence or somebody still working on confidence, it can really undermine you to a problem. Like, really? Is that what they really wanted? Like in some cases, yeah. So if they ask you, like, put 70 in scientific notation, you're like, 7 times 10 to the what? Yeah, that's all they want. Okay, so be careful. Don't let them fool you. Okay, with all of that, and like I said, I'll come back and work on some other things for you. Pulley problem being, I think, probably the biggest one to work on. Okay, I did leave a video for those in a different section, but yeah, if you guys have a specific request and like I really needed to see this, shoot me an email. I will tell you, like, oh no, that problem is not on the final, or yeah, there's one like that, or one similar enough to that. Here's a demonstration. Okay, so if you guys want to see a specific problem because you're kind of stuck with it, let me know. You're like trying to figure out, like, I can't ever remember how to set this up. You have any hits? Let me know, and I can help you out there. All right, I'm going to stop it before it gets too long and post it so you guys have something. All right, let me know. And stop recording.